Let's talk about Squirrel King. Squirrel King is a Taiwanese Mega Drive game by GameTech, Gamtech, GAMTEC, and that is their symbol, which you cannot see on this box art. No, yeah, you can't, but that's them, GameTech. Just call them GameTech, I suppose. Like every other Taiwanese game on the Mega Drive, this is an unlicensed release. It comes in an 8 megabits cartridge, which equals to 1 megabyte of ROM size. Hello, Mazunaga. And let's dive right into what I have to say about this. What's the research for this game? Alright, Squirrel King was also available for the Super Nintendo, but here I'm gonna show you other Mega Drive box arts first. As you can see, it made its way into Russia in 2 different formats, this and this. And here's your Super Nintendo star screen. It's just known as Squirrel. It hasn't actually retained its Squirrel King name. And I believe this background art is stolen from another game, which I don't remember which one, but this bridge thing is stolen from some other Super Nintendo game, I believe. On the Nintendo platform, though, the game features less levels, less bosses, and even lacks the simultaneous co-op mode. Needless to say, Squirrel King is heavily inspired by the NES or Famicom game, Capcom release, Chip and Dale. Both the gameplay and the character design, of course, reflect that fact. And the game, of course, explaining what the hell I was talking about there, was also reworked, possibly by Chuanpu, which we'll talk about later as well, another Taiwanese developer house for Mega Drive games. It was reworked into this game, Super Mario World, also known as Super Mario Bros. Brothers. Super Mario Brothers? This version of Squirrel King replaces the main sprite with Mario, and has 2 unique starting levels that reflect the Mario assets. The rest of the game is the same as Squirrel King, with some bosses being replaced by Bowser. Speaking of, what the fuck is that Nightmare Fuel Yoshi with Bowser head, dude? Look at that shit in the boxer. That is impressive. That is impressive. Also, that box art is literally a Super Mario World. There's a freaking planet there. It's pretty sick. Hey, Gao. Hey, SDS. Yes, you are right, SDS. That is it. That is it. This scene here. I have a very bad screenshot here. The pixels are all blurred. But this is the intro screen from the Super Nintendo version, and it's stolen, well, minus the squirrel and the logo, from Second Densetsu 3 scene. Good catch, SDS. I forgot to write that down. I'm actually gonna write it down now. Title screen pixel art stolen from Second Densetsu 3. There you go. All right. So having gotten that out of the way, which again, guys, we have played this in the Megamarathon before. This Super Mario World thing. So this here is a hack of a licensed game, which is also a knockoff of an NES game. So the hack of the bootleg of the game. We played the hack. We're not gonna play the NES game. Let's play the bootleg. Soon. First, let's get the lore out of the way. That was my scroll shock. Let's move on to the developer. The developer stuff. Good stuff. Alright. Yeah, Mapno is Russian for Mario. Alright, so Squirrel King, like many other Taiwanese Mega Drive games, was developed by Gamtech Corporation. Again, there's logo. It originated, as shown previously in Taichung, Taiwan, in 1989. 1989, good year. Very good year. This is a pretty elusive subject to research for in video game history, but thankfully all the available information, or I suppose most of it, unless you go dig very deep in Taiwanese websites, and even then that's what they did already, is traced over at this wiki's website, which is, as far as I can tell, the best source of information for such video game history. Now, GameTech initially self-published all of their games, which were initially pretty simple and often clones of existing games. Bomboy, very good title. Bomboy here is of particular relevance. This Bomberman clone here, hence why Bomboy is such a good title. There will never be a stream where my headphones cable doesn't get stuck on the chair wheel. Never, I say. I'll figure something out for that. This Bomberman clone even made it to be the bundled game for a clone system in Brazil, the Dynacom Megavision. Well, I'm not sure this was a Brazilian system, but in Brazil it came bundled with the Megavision here. Pretty good. I think it was a Brazilian one though. It's Portuguese in all the pictures I found. I didn't look into it. Now, in the mid-90s, 1994 specifically, GameTech began working as a contract developer, stopped publishing their own games. In particular for Cityman Technology and Ming Superchip Electronic. Ming Superchip Electronic, which was the publisher for a game we already played in the Megamarathon last year, if I'm not mistaken. Remember Smart Mouse? Super healthy American rat. Could be superstar, he's biggest. I cannot not zoom that in every time. Just have to do that. Just have to. Rich and fine, big and strong. Kubi is superstar, he is biggest. All this game, by the way, Bomboy, Smart Mouse, they are somewhat soon, they are going to get a reboot, guys. Believe it or not, there is a dude and his wife that in Fort Wayne, which I think is in the United States. It might be in Canada, but I think it's in the United States of America. In Fort Wayne, these dudes are setting up a place called I Heart Pizza. I love pizza. Let me get a Twitter link. There you go. This place, and they're opening up this like pizza place with their own Mega Drive games that you can play, right? Something like that's the concept. But the thing is, they're actually buying licenses for such games. They're hinting at revivals of those intellectual properties. And they say that for example, for Bomboy, I think, or Adventurous Boy, or some of these GameTech / Chuanpu Taiwanese games, they're going to put out not only they're also putting out their original games. Like there's a beat 'em up set in 420 with them two dudes, well, dude and girl, as characters. But they're also gonna put out improved versions of these Taiwanese games. So that's pretty fucking cool, I think. But yeah, I'm keeping track on that tweet feed, and yeah, that's happening. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do shit like that, and it's great. Yeah. All right, Taiwanese game revamp. Okay, that was needed. Had to mention that. All right, so we've played Smart Mouse, but what we're talking about, we're talking that in 1994, GameTech began working as a contract developer, and in particular for Ming Superchip Electronic, which you see in the bottom right of this picture. But Smart Mouse was actually developed by Chuanpu. It was not developed by GameTech, right? Here's where it mixes up, because GameTech started associating themselves with Chuanpu Technologies, which is, again, another Taiwanese developer from that time. The both of them must have put a combined amount of, I don't know, over 30 games for the Mega Drive, some of which look really good, especially the RPG and the strategy RPG. That kind of shit looks great. Anyway, the two houses often fuse together while cross-referencing developers from the credits of their games. Some games will have developers from each side. A GameTech game will use a Chuanpu engine or stuff like that, and so on. They even release games under the same ID, which is see if we can grab it from here. Yes, we can. Which is GM 95 something something something. Now this ID though was dropped after Wukong Legend or Legend of Wukong. After they put that out, look how great that pixel art is in the title screen, by the way. Yeah, look at that full screen. They dropped that ID after Wukong Legend, together with the publishers. They dropped the publishers too, the publishers they were working with. They, however, as in GameTech and Chuanpu Technologies, kept working together. It's a box art as well, not as good as the title screen, to be honest. Now, an interesting point is that Wangjia Technology, probably one of those drop publishers, published Chuanpu's strategy RPG, Feng Shen Ying Ye Zhuan, which looks freaking amazing if you ask me. Which manual had GameTech Games advertisements. So you see the two companies just very much intertwined together. Now, although uncredited, and maybe for safety reasons, they were also behind arcade games like Top Shooter, not the original name variation of Operation Wolf, Top Shooter. There's other Top Shooter. And, amazingly, Super Bubble Bobble. Here am I showing you a Mega Drive box art, but this also came out for the arcades. Interestingly, after the Mega Drive version, the arcade Super Bubble Bobble, bootleg of course, utilized modified Mega Drive hardware, which likely made it very easy for them Taiwanese developers to develop the game, of course. We haven't played this yet on the Megamarathon, but it is going to come up eventually. Now, GameTech went dormant around that time, and by that time, the arcade Super Bubble Bobble released, so to speak, in 1996. And GameTech's original members disbanded and supposedly went to form Vast Fame. Vast Fame here, another Taiwanese company. Although Vast Fame would have been founded in 1998, according to their own company profile, so you don't really know for sure with these really obscure video game history topics. GameTech would have become active again between 1998 and 2002, where other Mega Drive games were developed, such as Sonic Jam 6, Super Donkey Kong 99, Dragon Ball Final Bout, and Pocket Monster, Pokemon game where it's a platforming game where you play as Pikachu. All this stuff you have a chance of seeing in this. Why did all my sources move up? Because I put them in a group and I must have moved the group. Suppose shit happens. All this game can't come up on the Megamarathon. Pokemon Crazy Drummer 1 came up, didn't it? I'm not sure about Pocket Monster itself. I think that one came up too. All these games, Sonic Jam 6, Super Donkey Kong 99, Dragon Ball Final Bout, Pocket Monster, were likely made by completely different developers using the same tools as the old one over at GameTech. As seen while inspecting the games, observing the packaging, they got the same spine, nomenclatures and stuff like that. Analyzing the ROM headers, And even looking at the Game Boy output for those developers, these Taiwanese houses weren't just developing Mega Drive games. They were developing Game Boy games, NES games, Super Nintendo games, not to the same degree, probably because it was much more of a pain in the ass to develop for the Super Nintendo than it is for the Mega Drive. That is also true nowadays, perhaps even more so. Actually, it is. Even Game Boy Advance and stuff like that. Some of these topics we've covered briefly while discussing the lore for a smart mouse, because that was made by Chuanpu. So we're talking about this kind of almost twin entities, GameTech and Chuanpu. And remember, we looked deep into what other games Chuanpu had developed, and it's all like, yeah, but in the credits, then you have GameTech developers. It's the same when you go inspect into GameTech lore, honestly. Now, the year 2002, where we mentioned GameTech was last active, coincides with Taiwan joining the World Trade Organization. That's possibly why they ceased operations. It is not a sports poll, Carl. Just happened that 3 sports games came up. Hey, Malone, what's going on? Hope you enjoyed the lecture. Yeah, Gao, exactly. And I got something about that too, as a matter of fact. Anyway, other companies, though, still somewhat active nowadays in some other department. We've seen how Chuanpu operates a bingo website. And perhaps next time we get to play one of these interesting Taiwanese games, as there's many, we'll investigate some other ones. I know there's a company that's still active with mobile games. It's called like Lorelei, something like that, I don't remember. Which is spawned possibly from GameTech or Chuanpu. And they're still active. Now, while we know GameTech was founded in 1989, we do not know the birth date of Chuanpu. This, combined with the available information and the amount of games developed by each company, which is superior for GameTech, makes it obvious that GameTech came first, or that at the very least was just bigger. Now, about cross-referencing credits and not knowing which is who, Squirrel King and Shiji Wang 2, which is the Lion King 2, another Taiwanese game we played years ago in the Megamarathon, both feature people in the credits that are not seen anywhere else. It is unknown if these names are real or not, like this dude called Jazz Dark, which you're gonna see when I beat this game shortly. Planning and other people that you can see in the paste bin, or maybe I can copy. Let's see if the Twitch chat breaks. It does. Wait, I can split it up. I can really just flood the chat for you guys. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. It's not even formatted. Get a load of that. You get a load of that. That was the most terrible thing I've ever done in my life. That's all about there is to say about the developer shock for today. We do, however, have to talk about the sound, because we always have to talk about the sound. Hey, Rotayu. Now, Squirrel King uses the SMPS Zilog Z80 Sega sound engine, but it's the one stolen from Wonder Boy 3. The music I was playing for you guys in the pre-stream. And that is the same that happened for many other Taiwanese or GameTech games, if you remember that. Some other GameTech games often worked with a High Seas Havoc driver instead. But overall, it depended on the composer, who was probably a freelance one hired by other Taiwanese Mega Drive developer houses, which were also based in Taichung. Now, for Squirrel King, considering how it's a GameTech game and it uses the Wonder Boy 3 engine, the composer was probably either Hanmin Liao or Yaming Zhu. I have no idea, it is unknown. And speaking of music, the Super Nintendo version of Squirrel King, called just Squirrel, amusingly, while being a stripped-down version from the Mega Drive Squirrel King, does have a good soundtrack. That's because it steals it from Bonkers, though.